It's another week in the For Your Reference household, and it's another ooky spooky review. But more excitingly, OT, it is our first ever invitation to an advanced screening.
Mm-hmm.
How exciting.
Very.
Oh, I'll have what I'm having.
Oh, this is posh OT now.
Well, still a wanker, OT. Let's get on with the show. Friends and grabby lovers, welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host, Katie.
And OT.
Look both ways because Mr. Masky is out on the lookout.
Ready to grab them apples.
Oh, I think I kind of want to be grabbed then. Let's work on our screenplay after this, OT.
But he won't be airing in a lot of countries, though.
In our private heart and bed chambers, friends and lovers. Answer the call coming from inside the childhood trauma.
Ooh.
With the Black Fern this week. Ooh. Let's get into stats and general information, OT. This film was released in September of 2021 in the Fantastic Festival, but most recently was released in Australia in July of 2022. Hopefully, friends and lovers, you've all gone to watch it. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Sinister grabby, sinister grabby, sinister grabby if you're nasty. This film was based on a short story, OT.
All right.
By Joe Hill, who you will know as the son of the famous Stephen King.
Okay.
So I don't know if that gives it more graces or it gives it more accountability to be held to, but time will tell, I suppose.
Thy father's talent does not pass to thy seed necessarily.
Yes. And that is a taster of the reading in the For Your Reference dungeon, bed chambers that we reference with the early screenings. We have Scott Derrickson, C. Robert Cargill, as well as obviously all around the town. I was only looking at Denzel, but I definitely have a lot of time for the Ethan Hawke. Madeline McGraw was definitely quite a pull for this film, I would say.
For sure.
She brought a lot of gravitas, and we're definitely going to talk about performances, but right at the top of this. And apparently there were scheduling conflicts, and they made sure that she was available for this film. And I think that was an absolutely perfect decision.
Yeah, everything else around her, for sure.
Yeah. And also Mason Thames, who also did a lovely job as well. In regards to the budget, OT, $18 million.
Okay.
Yeah, that's some Blumhouse money right there. A worldwide gross of $118.7 million, OT.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a lot of open-handed kid slaps right there.
It sure is.
Oh, OT, I don't know. Maybe it was you starting off with It's a Wonderful Life with the open-handed kid slapping right in the face. Or maybe it was passing on trauma to an innocent kid in Soul Food. But there's a running theme going on.
Seems like it.
It seems like it. Absolutely. Welcome, welcome, friends and lovers. For those that aren't aware of the film, or for those that would like a preemptive trigger warning, we will be talking about, a lot of trauma surrounding like domestic abuse towards kids. Will Smith is safe out of this conversation. But we're definitely going to get into the film. For those that are on our Patreon, we have covered Sinister, and personally, I really enjoyed Sinister. And obviously that will come into how we feel about the film generally. But what were your first impressions, OT? How did you feel going into this? You know, we talk about trying not to watch as many trailers as possible if we know we're even a little bit interested. So how did you feel leading up to the film, watching the film, and we've had some time to marinate now. So how are you feeling?
I didn't know what to expect with this movie because I really didn't know anything about it going in. All I knew was there was going to be Ethan Hawke in it. And that's usually enough for me.
Great pull.
So, exactly. So when I went in and started watching it, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the performances. I think the kids were pretty good. There was nothing that took me out of the sort of element of watching. And I know that I struggle usually, especially in a movie theater where there's a lot of sort of reactions or whatnot.
Yeah.
Usually that sort of takes me out of the moment. And I'm like, Fuzzy Lumpkin being really angry, get out of my yard sort of look.
Is that a Powerpuff Girls reference?
I don't know. I'll bring value wherever I go.
Go off, King.
So I was just sort of intrigued in seeing what this was going to be and what role Ethan Hawke would play because the poster looked scary. And I think there was sort of a fun fair, people taking pictures. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of saucy.
Yeah.
So it made me more intrigued into seeing, now I'm more eager to see what this was. Exactly. The hype was there. So going in, I think I enjoyed it overall. I can't say that it'll be something that will stick with me forever or something that we've watched a lot of Ethan Hawke shit that this will be like, the Ethan Hawke thing to go and watch. Yeah. Necessarily.
But you didn't seem to like Reality Bites, so I would say that you enjoyed this more than Reality Bites. How dare you?
Yeah. That's sort of in the sort of same ballpark, mate.
Stay away from my Winona Riders then.
Oh, wow. You couldn't even get into watching Stranger Things, bro. So I don't know why you're saying.
Wow.
I'm just saying, if you're a diehard fan.
From Powerpuff Girls to Stranger Things, tell us about your incognito searches, sir. Tell us you were at the Brony convention without telling us you were at the Brony
Oh, dear. But, Ethan Hawke's character in this, Mr. Grubby Grubs, the grabber, I just...
Is that like Jordan Peele's next film, The Grabbers?
Yeah. It would be a really great sequel to Slap Ass. So
go and listen to our Key and Peele episode, friends and lovers.
I think I sort of expected more from him because I felt like I didn't get enough. And what I did get was either because he spent most of the time with the mask. Yeah. So I didn't know if I got the whole sort of Ethan Hawke experience that I wanted. It's nothing like when you started watching Halloween. Yeah. And
wow, that was a whole experience.
It was a whole experience,
Go
right?
and check out I'm still thinking about, and LL Cool J can touch my Winona Riders any day because that's what I take out of the Halloween franchise. But it was definitely a lot to get through. Yes.
Yeah, but in the first Halloween, we get to see a sense of who Michael Myers is. We understand, we get where he's coming from and what he's going to do.
Oh, you're being very spicy, OT, because that's actually one of the themes I have. So be very brief.
Okay, I'll pull back. I'll pull back like Mr. Grubber does. And
OT, not that anybody asked, but I'm updating my spank bank to have Jet Li with a cigarette in his mouth and Ethan Hawke sitting in front of the door, shirtless with a belt, if you're nasty.
Come up and play.
How are you going to have the film be 60% about the kids and I just want to be staring at that? And I think that comes to, because we're going to get to the themes, I guess I'll give my general sort of first impressions. All thirsts aside, all Ethan Hawke, Daddy Hawke thirsts aside, I agree with you because as soon as you put a name like Ethan Hawke in a film and a lot of the aesthetics, and his face kind of reminded me of the guy's face in the first Lena Headey's Purge. There was, do you remember that blonde hair guy with his face right on the circle, non-trademark circle cam? His face just, like the mask reminded me of that guy's face. But anyway, you put Ethan Hawke's name on it. You have a lot of aesthetics around him being the grabber. And we're spending so much time with the kids. And that's, and I guess maybe that goes back to like the Umbrella Academy, if I could lend a reference from there. It's like the grandfather paradox. It didn't make sense tonally because I talked about about the Umbrella Academy and tonally how it wasn't all the way the boys' frivolity, but it also wasn't kid preteen friendly either. And what I don't get about this film is tonally it didn't make a lot of sense because you had young kids there, but then you also had kids getting beat. And I wouldn't say necessarily that you would want young kids to be able to sit through that. There's a difference between growing up in the 80s and 90s and, you know, sneaking tapes and watching it yourself, and then like to have kids in a cinema or, you know, whatever it is, people might be, but it's also rated R, right? And what confused me about that as well is he's literally, bruv, called the Grabber, and he takes children. I'm not saying I wanted to have like a Herbert the Pervert situation, but Mr. McGrabby Grabs wasn't very grabby grabs, and they didn't necessarily hint. They didn't even hint at.
I felt like there were innuendos. Into.
But you know what I mean? If it's rated R and they're going all the way with whipping a little kid with a belt, it didn't make sense that if he was like a pervert, he would have been a pervert.
Yeah, I felt like those innuendos of something deeper than just him capturing the boys and waiting to beat them to death or some shit.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to say it, because you've got the rating of rated R.
Yeah, but people don't want to see that shit or hear that shit.
Woody Allen who? Kevin Spacey who? Oh, so it only happens when it happens in real life. Is that what you're saying, OT?
True, mate.
There you go. But that's what I'm saying. Like, tonally, it was a bit confusing to me. And even tonally, and there's one of the things, so I won't talk too much on this, but tonally, it didn't make sense on the Grabber.
Okay.
And I'll leave it there because we have a lot of themes that we're going to get to, and then we'll obviously talk about the characters as well. I want to talk about aesthetics. I wouldn't say that this was directly in line. You already talked about Stranger Things earlier. Even if we talk about It, your favorite Pennywise, Friends and Lovers, even just early For Your Reference episodes, but specifically go and listen to our It episode, Floating on That Fine Dairy Air, for the title alone. But, you know, with Pennywise or in general, there's a lot of aesthetics, or even Ghostbusters, there's a lot of aesthetics of like young kids in the 80s, right? Or 80s, 90s, you know, like there's that nostalgic sort of wave of aesthetics that we're seeing now. And could you separate that and see this film for what it was? Because personally, I couldn't. I'm just like, okay, so we're riding the wave now.
No, I didn't feel like it took away from anything. I just thought, okay, it's set in this time, that's fine. I didn't feel like those that, let's jump on the bandwagon. To me, it didn't take me away from it. I sort of thought it was sort of cool time period as well. I just needed more from taking that aesthetic and elevating into the sort of horror genre I expected it to be with Mr. Grabber. There were a lot of internalized sort of horror in it, which is fine, which I sort of enjoyed. I just expected it to be more, not like a slasher or anything like that, just make this stand out a bit more.
Absolutely. And I absolutely agree with that. I know we touched on it a little bit, but I do want to have it as its own theme. I want to talk about the violence in the film. What did you think about that?
Brutal.
But also, like, we famously love Spartacus, and we talk about loving Spartacus. Like, I think there is a time and a place for violence. Do you think it's the way that it was portrayed in this film?
I think there's a difference though. With Spartacus, it's grown-ass men beating the shit out of each other. With this, we're introduced to we get a scene where Robin beats the shit out of a kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, bruh, you know your children, right? What the fuck? And everyone just stood there.
Okay, so maybe Spartacus was obviously a very extreme sort of example, but in a lot of the films we cover, there's absolutely, and even It's a Wonderful Life, I used it as a playful example, but there was also abuse towards children. Like, we've seen it before is my point, but I also agree that it felt very stark here, and I'm trying to figure out why.
Because it's fucking kids beating the hell out of each other to some sort of, like, I get bullying, I understand it fucking happens.
You get it? You participated?
But I think seeing it in such a visceral, raw way just took me aback a bit. Because at least in our time, there used to be fucking lines. You know what thresholds are? Here, you get kids kicking each other, hitting each other with fucking rocks. I'm like, what is going on?
That's interesting because I wasn't even talking about that. I was talking about the dad beating the daughter.
Oh, that made everyone in the cinema uncomfortable. Those dead silence.
Yeah, but I'm not going to focus on it a lot. But just the fact that we've covered so many films on this podcast, we've covered so many TV shows in this podcast, a lot of black narratives, a lot of even like Taika Waititi, like boy, I was very emotional and we talked about that. So like, we're not necessarily strangers. Like we're not watching this being like, oh man, a parent hitting a kid, that's sci-fi. Like, like it's not fantasy, unfucking fortunately for us. So what I'm saying is, why do we both feel like it was a lot in this film, even though we're not strangers to it?
It was a white girl being beaten, bro. I can separate shit, but seeing that, I was like, fuck.
Is that like our equivalent of white guys seeing black elves? Like, is that where we start to blur reality and fiction?
Yeah, I guess so.
But you're right, because there was a part of Gwen getting beat where I just wanted to be like, step in and be like, hey man, just beat me instead. Narrative for Mel Gibby's Passion of the Christ. But when Gwen was getting beaten, I felt like I wanted to like stand in for her.
I volunteer as tribute.
Speaking of, the black phone Jesus was pretty useless.
Yeah.
He wasn't answering any prayers.
Yeah. Oh, man, as soon as she started saying Jesus in there, I was like, you're on your own. At least help will come either too late or at the end of the movie. And we know what happened. Yeah, but that's something interesting. I don't think I can even articulate, well, you kind of just said because little white girl. But I can't articulate into words why I felt like, or maybe you're right. Maybe it was the cinema reaction because it was dead quiet. Yeah, because you felt...
People were shrinking in their seats.
Yeah, you felt... she was hit and then... people were like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. It was uncomfortable, but not really bothered. And then it continued going on for like a hot minute. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is getting a bit too much.
Shout outs to our beloved pal Rob from Smoke and Mirrors when they were doing a quick review of the black phone. They were talking about how the dad offered ice after he beat her. And I'm like, what a luxury. Must be nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was interesting going into it. But I think you're right. I think based off of the reactions, but again, friends and lovers, on another day, I'm not going to Kyle Katie Brovlowski us now, but on another day, we need to talk about how we're more comfortable watching black people or even black children get brutalized in slave films and not feel good about this little white girl getting beat with a belt.
Oh, fuck shit. Shit's been numberless, bro.
That's what I said. We're not going to do it today. We're going to stay in sinister land.
Making me feel fucking uneasy. The knob.
Hey, I'm just here to hold some mirrors up, OT. Shout outs again to Smoke and Mirrors. We fucking love you guys. Before we move on to the next theme, I do want to talk about something. We watched and loved Sinister, and I'm not going to spoil anything about Sinister, but you know, shout outs to Julio from the Contrarians, another beloved pal and patron of ours. He mentioned that this was the Sinister crew coming back, but even if he hadn't have mentioned it, I still would have possibly been able to draw it because again, a lot of the aesthetics that were using like archive sort of footage of like children in the past, and even the scoring of the film was very reminiscent of Sinister. And the reason why I say that is because I really felt like Sinister was very effective. I really enjoyed the first Sinister at least. But because it hit so many of the same notes, but it wasn't necessarily executed to a way that I would expect from Sinister, or the the Sinister Team rather, it kind of got in the way of me enjoying it. And the next theme that we're going to go into is also the fact that it kind of took me out of the film. And you already talked about it earlier, the horror icon. It's become almost as popular as our power hierarchy theme, OT. We're talking about horror icons, and we're talking about not necessarily like the staying power, because arguably Halloween's End is coming out very soon. So arguably you could say Michael Myers has a lot of staying power. Whether you hate him or love him, Michael Myers is on top and he gonna shine.
Till it don't drop.
Yeah, go ahead and envy him. I think we're giving the game too much airtime. But I guess what I wanted to cover in this is the horror icon. And I don't think we've officially ranked horror icons, but I think in the For Your Reference household at least, we talk about the horror icons needing some sort of compelling fucking backstory. Like even with the most recent Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there was no fucking rhyme or reason. But like I would say Chucky is like at the top for me. But then if OT's talking about people that scare him, he's talking about Pennywise.
No, why would I bring that fucking idiot into any conversation? Ridiculous.
Who are you fighting?
You?
The whole Skarsgård family?
Yes.
But like for me, what is very interesting and compelling to me are the backstories of the horror icons. And that's why I didn't necessarily gravitate to Michael Myers, because he didn't necessarily say anything either. Freddy Krueger was a lot of fun, or is a lot of fun. Jason, albeit open mouth kissing our Kelly Rowland. Like I don't necessarily feel like the grabber worked, because he was a very serious, sullen sort of character, and then they try to have that line of having salt and pepper on his eggs, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense for the it's literally Michael Myers, so if you were to get him to do something like that would be out of character, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I think with this, usually when we get this sort of fast movie, the introductory movie, we get to see who the grabber is. Not even to see who the grabber is. So the introduction of the grabber into the scenes, you know? Okay, he does A, B, and C. We don't know the reasons. And maybe the Black Phone 2 then explores the grabber as a character and why he is the way he is. So
you mean the Black Phone 2, the double grabbies?
Yeah. Like I'm open to explore that, because I want to know more about Ethan Hawke's character in this.
But don't you think it would have been more interesting to be from his point of view?
It would have been, but I think with this, it sort of introduces, I don't know, and that's why maybe the confusion comes for you, where we're seeing it from Finney's point of view, where, okay, kids, you're not really getting the kids to come and watch this.
Yeah.
Who are you trying to attract here?
But if you are getting the kids to watch it, these aren't the sort of kids I want to associate with. Friends and lovers, we've mentioned before to go and watch That Damn Michael Che. There was a scene in there of like a criminal that has been in prison for many decades trying to like shake up the youth and make them, you know, try and go on the straight and narrow, only to find out that these motherfuckers are out here really doing it.
Yeah, dropping bodies.
Exactly. So if you're telling me there are kids that want to watch this film, I'm not fighting. Take my money. Take my social security, take it all.
No, like I do like the idea of the grabber. I think it has more legs to me than
what was the
Pennywise.
Reason? What was the reason why he didn't want to show his face? He had a beautiful, lovely face. A face that one might want to sit on if you're nasty.
I think it's a psychological thing, because the minute Finn sort of removed his mask, he had to hide behind. He was like, oh no, I can't chase you until I put my mask on.
See, but it's even with the pervert angle. You had to fill that in, and now you have to fill in this mask thing. Why?
No, because they showed us.
But it's rated R, so you can be explicit with it. So why aren't we being explained? Because it just feels like he's wearing a mask for aesthetics now.
I think he can become who he wants. He can only become the grabber when he's wearing that mask. Outside of it, he's just a lonely Ethan Hawke in some suburban town.
Are you saying his vengeance?
Oh, wow.
He cops a handful and he says, this is vengeance?
Maybe he just needs to spy at Zoe Kravitz undressing and then he'll be fine.
Don't we all? But I wouldn't cop a feel if it meant I had to listen to her speech talking about the white patriarchy. Fuck off. Even I don't want to hear her say that.
Yeah, true that. And then jump on top of him like.
Okay, we'll be there for that part, but not the lecture.
True. Yeah, I just think it made sense. His persona is tied to the mask, and once you take the mask off, he can't be the grabber anymore, and he has to reestablish that connection to even chase after Finn. Without it, he couldn't. So to me, it makes sense.
But where does he stack on the lore of horror icons?
I think it's still too early to base it off just the first movie. We need at least the second to see why he is and who he is and why he operates like this. What's his strengths? Because he's fucking dead, right?
Yeah. So unless you're gonna get a prequel.
He got outdid by Finn in the first movie. Bloody hell.
Yeah, because he did the choreographed step back one, step back. He was on the 2-step. He felt that bounce,
He was stepping in the name of love, eh? We can't say that anymore, can we?
Robert Oti? Robert Oti? Well, now you're filling in the perverted layers. There you fucking go.
Well, I think, yeah, based on this movie, if you told me to rank him, he's fucking dead last just because he got outwitted by a kid who wasn't even eating that much.
Yeah.
Do better.
Unseasoned.
But he's very kind, though. Yes, he grabs them. No, the guy cares.
Now we're just learning Oti's modus operandi.
He cares. Man, Finn was being fed. He was just eating there.
You're just grabbing cheeks. I can't.
He said as much, I think. Finn was sleeping. He was there just looking at him. If I wanted to kill you, I would have done it. If I wanted to do something else,
This is giving Twilight vibes.
Nothing beats Renesmee.
The grabber's part of the Cullen family.
But he took care of these kids. He only turned mean when they tried to run or they went upstairs to play.
They shouldn't be there, so of course they're gonna run, OT.
Well, at least Finn was told, stay strong, try and stay back, don't go upstairs.
I know Criminal Minds is coming back, but I don't know why you're trying to audition for Shamar Moore. I don't know why you're trying to get in the mind of a criminal.
I'm playing Mindhunter, bro.
Let's move on to the next theme that I have. Sci-fi/fantasy element, because this film isn't wholly grounded in reality, or I guess depending on how your chakra or your Taurus moon rising or whatever you want to fucking call it, the sister's powers wasn't necessarily worldly. So I want to talk about that element. Did it feel Deus Ex Machina? Did it feel like a plot hole that needed to be filled? Did it feel like it was effective to you? What do you think?
It felt like she couldn't control it. She only got glimpses and she was sort of dissuaded from using them. So I think there's that element of she can pretty much see where everything is, but it's sort of controlled, or she doesn't know how to work it because the dad don't let her explore those possibilities. So to us, it would be like, okay, she could probably solve this in an hour, but she can't because she's never been practicing like that. Her dad's keeping the secret away from her. Because we can tell, or at least they tell us that the mom has had this sort of power, or at least she went insane thinking that she was losing it. But I like for my powers to be consistent. I don't like Hail Marys at the end.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. Because it's like they might have had like some sort of idea for Gwen's powers, but it only really became useful when it wasn't necessary to the plot. You know what I'm saying? Until like the end when she was imagining the house, and I'm like, I don't know. At some point, she needs to either she's harnessing it or she's not. Stop using it conveniently for inconvenient moments.
But she's still coming to terms with what the power is and how to use it. So it's not necessarily black and white. I can still appreciate that. She knows where the vicinity of where the bodies are or where Finn is, not exactly the location. And it's all up to Finn. And I think that's where I got a bit more interested because Finn didn't wait for Gwen to come and rescue it.
Yeah.
It was all up to Finn to do that himself, thanks to to all the other people on the, all the past victims that kept on ringing.
Can we talk about it? Because Finn was quite astute and he was very smart. Like, even the way that he was trying to like climb the window and stuff. What kid comes with that starter pack sort of knowledge?
A kid that's adventurous? Well, he did have a lot of help though. A lot of people tried to get out of that basement and died trying. So with each iteration of everyone that died that tried to help Finn, they parted knowledge. And it's more, okay, I'm going to try and be resourceful. I'm going to try and use this. I need to see how I can get up to the window. So I think it's all stuff. It's all born from experience of other people that died.
Okay.
That tried different things that didn't work for them.
Well, I guess this comes into the next theme that I wanted to talk about. Who was on the other side of the phone?
The dead kids.
Well, okay. And maybe, you always like to point out that I like to ground sci-fi shit. But I am going to ground this film. I don't believe that the phone was even fucking ringing.
Okay.
Because even the delusional voices were saying only Finn and the grabber could hear the ringing.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we had our rest in peace Ziggy 2 times, John Ranson playing Max, he didn't have much time, but he didn't relay that he could hear the phone ringing. So I'm saying living with both Busta Rhymes in the Halloween universe feet on the ground, even though it didn't end up well for Busta Rhymes, but I'm saying that the phone didn't ring at all.
But we know that, so the powers can't be devoided from Finn completely because Gwen has some special sort of powers. Well,
you haven't asked me if I think that she has powers.
Wow. It's safe to assume that some aspects, maybe he's like Klaus in Umbrella Academy. That's a possibility.
That's a possibility, but the world of Umbrella Academy wills it for you to believe in the supernatural.
We're introduced by Gwen knowing what happens to people and disappear. She knows there's 2 balloons. She knows details that she should not be knowing. If she doesn't have powers, she's perpetrating all this. She should be arrested.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, and I am aware of myself. I know I do try to ground sort of fantastical elements, but I would also say that this film didn't necessarily will itself to fully foray into the fantasy. That's what I'm saying.
And I see that, but I think if you take away the black phone, then that's the whole movie.
Well, now you see where I am.
No, like the whole movie, it's a concept of the black phone.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that it's real.
I get that. I get that you want to really ground this and make it seem as if Finn was just crazy talking to himself. That might be an interesting movie, but I think it removes the fantastical element that they've intentionally introduced to this, and I can't divorce those two.
Well, I'm here to separate that union, I suppose. Okay, so talk me through it, because the bodies were found in an opposite house, and that's where the bodies were buried, and that's where Gwen took them, very conveniently across the road. But anyway, and we saw the bodies there, so the bodies are physically there. So you're saying, because I don't think we've actually said world star. I think we're going to get a For Your Reference exclusive. I don't think we've ever talked about whether we believe in ghosts or not. We've gone fucking hard on religion, but I don't think we've talked about ghosts. Do you believe there's a possibility of maybe not Bobby Brown being mounted by ghosts, but do you believe in the possibility of spirits lingering?
No, until I get the Bobby Brown experience, I'm not believing in shit.
Then why are you so tethered to the idea that it belongs here?
Because it's a movie, for one, and you're allowed to color outside the bounds of reality, which I think they did.
They did, but was it executed?
I think it was. I think the fact that we saw that the mom struggled with it so much that it drove her, or at least we're told that it drove her crazy.
I feel like they could have expounded on that a bit more too.
Maybe in the sequel, maybe it will probably be a prequel.
There's a sequel. The grabbers got
prequel. Then we see how the powers came to be from the mother, where she got them, how she acquired them and passed it on to Gwen. What's the deal with Finn and hearing?
You mean grabbing begins?
No, it's like watching Sixth Sense and being like, nah, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like I said before you interrupted, maybe we're setting up a trilogy. We have the black phone, we have grabbing begins, and then we have the dark grab. I'm the grabbing the city needs.
That's a movie I'll get behind.
Literally, if you're nasty.
I know.
All puns will be grabbed, friends and lovers.
You should just have the soundtrack should be, Juvenile's Back That Ass Up. That's one movie I would go and play advance.
Say you're an ass man without saying you're an ass man, right, OT?
We're all ass men out there, man.
You better start squatting, friends and lovers, because you're going to catch these OT hands.
Dear me.
Well, it's a bit of a reprieve from hitting kids in the film. It's going to have OT grabbing asses. I don't know. Visually, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed, if we're talking about the like fantasy element, I enjoyed that they were showing like the kids that obviously passed away and didn't make it. I like the way that they conveyed that. I don't necessarily agree or believe it, but I like the way that they portrayed it. There were absolutely some jump scares in there. Did it get you?
I can't remember specifically, but I think it was the first jump scare that I did not see coming. Usually they have like a trick where you think there's going to be a jump scare and then they don't do it and then they do it on the next one. This one, they took their time. I was like, yeah, it's not coming. And then it happened. I was like, fuck. What are you trying to do to me?
Well, you just need a saggy ass and that would be your jump scare, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Saggy ass or flat ass?
Both. I don't discriminate.
Oh, goodness me. Take the pen away from OT. No screenplays should be viewed in our sex basement or otherwise. Let's talk about Terrence, not Howard. But he's got the hands for it. The dad.
Wow.
The dad. Let's talk about the dad. Thoughts, feelings?
He's shit, man. He's a crap dad.
Yeah.
He's checked out after the wife died.
No, but it's like the world makes you feel small. Don't go into your house where you feel like the top of the hierarchy and like beat your kids to shit. That's not right.
Yeah. And it happens more often than people want to admit, But it's definitely a problem. And I think the dad, when he's struggling like that, man, even if fucking neighbors are shit, when you hear someone getting smacked like that, where's the neighborly love?
You were saying neighbors, and I was thinking of the Australian soap opera. I don't think anyone would intervene in Ramsay Street, would they?
Oh, they definitely would.
What?
They would. I think you're a home and away girl. You didn't know how close people were on Ramsay Street.
A nightmare on Ramsay Street, am I right?
But he is a crap dad, and even the moment where he starts apologizing towards the end to Finn and Gwen, I'm like,
for what?
Nah, I don't buy that shit.
For what?
Just because you thought you'd lost me, then you're all of a sudden now coming to apologize of the way you've treated us all this past few fucking years.
Yeah.
I would not forgive. I'm a vengeful motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I'll be there. I'd say, with my powers, let me gather all these dead people to come and fucking torture you.
Okay, so you're okay with sci-fi elements, just not parents apologizing for shit they would never apologize for.
Nah.
That's the real fantasy.
It's fun. It's fantastical to see that shit. I don't buy it. I get he sort of felt like, oh, I've lost Finn and now I'm glad he's back. I'm gonna try and be a better person.
Well, we know you're not.
We know you're not.
You're not worth shit.
Like, come on now. You're trying to make us feel like we've just saw you beat the crap out of Gwen.
Yeah.
Not many days ago.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now you want to be father of the year.
Bruises, bruv. Yeah.
Nah. I don't buy that. I really didn't care for him at all.
What if Stephen, still don't understand why they named Samuel L. Jackson Stephen, but what if if Stephen apologized in Django?
Then you know it's a trap. You know it's a trap. You run the other way. You do the opposite of what he tells you. No.
What if Leo's character in Django apologized?
It doesn't do shit. No, this Uncle Ruckus motherfuckers do not. Nah. turn around and leave.
Turn around and leave, absolutely. Yeah, but that dad can get fucked. Like,
yeah.
No, it's not on. Like, and even if you wake up tomorrow and you find the Lord or whatever the fuck, like if you decide or you want to pretend you're a new person, cool, but stay the fuck away from me.
Yeah, and I think we saw the best example in The Harder They Fall.
Oh, yes.
You know, with Rufus Buck's dad and all.
Yeah.
I'd be vengeful as that. I would be bringing the heat.
Yeah. But it's like, just because someone's good to you doesn't mean they were good in their past life.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So let's move into really the only other character that we haven't talked about that I want to talk about is Max, because again, tonally, this film was kind of struggling to find its footing in the sense that it was trying to give levity through the grabber talking about salt and pepper on eggs, and to me, it didn't necessarily fit. But as soon as Max appeared, I was all the way in. Coke lines aside, him with his little like investigation that he had going on, I thought that was really interesting. I thought he brought a really great sort of energy. Like if you wanted to inject levity, you do it this way.
Oh, Ziggy definitely played his part in here. I think the funniest thing is he was so close to the truth.
Yeah.
And the cops couldn't give a shit because they thought it was just some, high guy who's, microdosing on crack.
A crack.
A crack.
Royal Jr., a crack. But two things can be true. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like if, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I would listen to everything if I was a detective.
Yeah.
Let me sift out the bullshit on my own and not disregard anything.
Yeah.
Like,
can we also put a little plug here for the Apple series Blackbird? Because what the fuck? Taron Egerton, as well as Paul Walter Hauser, because that was very confusing as well, in regards to like detective work or police, natural police. And I guess on a tangent, friends and lovers, if there are more titles and films that have the word black, but like it's a predominantly white cast, we're fighting. You gotta catch my diversity hands. But anyway, great TV show. Great TV show. Rest in love and peace and power, Ray Liotta. And we will be talking about Blackbird. But anyway, you're going to catch my diversity hands in a second. But I absolutely agree with you, because you at least investigate it for 1 second.
Yeah. I don't even think they plotted shit. The fact that someone has done that for you, just look for a second.
Yeah.
See if it makes sense. Conspiracy theories aside, a microdosing Ziggy aside, just it doesn't take too much.
He was so close to the truth.
And the fact that they'd hold up Gwen's evidence or Hail Mary predictions, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, the information was there, bruv.
Wild.
Ooh. Thank you so much, friends and lovers, for joining us another week in the For Your Reference household. We're going to finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference. OT.
I'm going to reference Black Christmas.
Ooh, OG?
Yeah, because I think Billy had the opportunity to be one of the biggest horror icons out there. Just missed a step. They just needed to, I don't know, man. Just fucking iconic. I felt like the grabber had a chance to be that or to come close to that. But he was defeated by Finney. Oh, well.
By friendship and power, friends and lovers.
You were small. Get out here, fucking it. Bloody hell. It still annoys me to this day.
Say you haven't healed from films by saying you haven't healed from films. Am I right, OT?
Pennywise lacking ass.
And I will reference Sinister.
Nice.
Gotta do it. Mm-hmm. The People's Champ.
Mm-hmm.
If you would like to have your ass grabbed by the People's Champ on Twitter and Instagram, we're at For Your Ref Pod.
Write us an email at hello@fypodcast.com.
We're also on Answer the Call podcast if you like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.